Prick up your ears.
The sound of DTM.
My car sounds like music to my ears.
My favorite sound when the car is leaving the pits. My favorite sound, the cheering of the fans.
Crank it up. My favorite sound? The silence before the lights go green.
Full blast.
Downshifting from full speed. When I rev up my engine to its absolute limit. Too close to cool. Cheering on the podium.
Be aware.
It's gonna be loud.
Das ist ein bisschen schade, weil wir wissen das gar nicht, wo das Problem ist. Mal sehen auf das Rennen, aber ja, man weiß, dass in DTM muss man immer in Quali vorne stehen, sonst ist eine sehr Möglichkeit für große Punkte.
Thank you very much, Verena. So, as the lights went out, the sun was shining here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg for race number 1. We thought it might end up being a potential BMW fest. Well, in the space of the race, we would, of course, find out. So as they headed up from turn 1 towards turn 2, already an early spinner, and that was Matthias Ekström. So they're on their way now, as you can see, and that in replay was Matthias Ekström, who kept his foot in and kept those wheels spinning, was able to return from that, and so very lucky not to be collected by anybody. There you can see, going through that smoke and the look of anxiety in the Audi garage there. There was a bit of bumping and barging going on, and it was Paul de Resta on the receiving end of that little part there, as you can see. It was Wittmann leading from Blomqvist, Mortara and Glock. And there is Timo Glock just into shot there. Well, in between Daniel Juncadella and Christian Vitoris, they both got together. It ended the race for Christian Vitoris and would pretty soon end the race for Daniel Juncadella as well. So an Intermark battle there that went horribly wrong, seeing 2 of the cars out. So down the pit lane, as we hear the DRS counting from the team radios. And still the fighting was going on. Bruno Spengler in the BMW forcing wide there. Mike Rockenfeller behind, and also Jamie Green. It was Maximilian Gertz that was out onto the gravel. On board with Timo Glock, then chasing down Mike Rockenfeller. So again, the one more lap referring to the DRS availability. Marco Wittmann then, Tom Blomqvist, often looking quicker than Marco Wittmann, but it was going to be Wittmann that would take the victory. Followed by Tom Blomqvist. Eduardo Mortara was splitting the BMWs. And there, the lock-up as they crossed the line. And Marco Wittmann then delighted with that. He's with Verena right now. Thank you very much, Verena. You make a fair point there. Of course, in comparison to last year where you were here, David, it's going to be very, very hot in those cars.
You're not wrong. Even at lunchtime out of the commentary booth in the paddock, it was noticeable how much warmer it is today than yesterday. And so the drivers are going to have an hour plus inside the cars. And we know they're all fit. There are lots of manufacturer training programs they have to go on pre-season and during the year. But even so, it is going to be very physical indeed inside the cars.
Okay, here comes the starting grid in full for you then. Jamie Green, pole position. Alongside him is Antonio Felix da Costa.
2,000 split them. Timo Glock will line up third. Fellow BMW driver Maxime Martin is fourth.
As we take a look at row 3 now, we find Eduardo Mortara and Augusto Farfus.
A row back is where you find Bruno Spengler, and eighth on the grid, another of the BMWs, it's Tom Blomqvist.
Mike Rockenfeller and Marco Vettman, yesterday's winner. They go from P9 and P10 respectively.
And Matthias Ekström, who had a tough day yesterday. Adrian Torbay starts 12th, both Audi drivers, of course.
On the next row, we see Nico Muller and Timo Scheider.
Robert Wickens is the best of the Mercedes drivers. He starts 15th, and Danny Juncadella 16th in his Mercedes.
Lucas Auer, the local boy, goes from P17, and another Mercedes alongside him, that of Maximilian Gertz.
Then it's Miguel Molina, who is 19th on the grid. Christian Vitoris starts 20th.
Then we see two stalwarts of DTM, Gary Paffett and Paul de Resta, going from P21 and P22.
And the back of the grid, Martin Tomczyk and Esteban Ocon, both of whom were given a 5-place grid drop for blocking another car in qualifying. Let's go back down to Verena with Jamie.
Thanks very much, Verena. So Jamie then, full of confidence, actually.
Well, he proved he could do it last year because,
yes,
of course, he was for the Saturday race on pole position and led for a lap until he had this electrical problem. So, yeah, we know that Jamie is good. Jamie knows that Jamie is good. Yeah. And the pace was there in qualifying earlier on today. It is a rather different-looking grid. Once more, BMW is very, very quick. In the speed trap, it was BMW, 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 BMW. But surprisingly, the sixth quickest car in the speed trap, Danny Juncadella's Mercedes, which in terms of a lap time was a long way down. The penultimate car in terms of straight line speed was Jamie Green's Audi that's on pole position. So
extraordinary. You
kind of get the feeling that in part maybe the speed trap figures are masked if you've got a toe, but it could also be that some cars work better in a straight line and others through the corners. There's a bit of a compromise perhaps therefore to be found on setup, and maybe today Jamie Green and the rest of the Rosberg team have found that. 10th career pole, he starts at the front.
Going from P8 then is Tom Blomqvist, who we can see here. He achieved P2 yesterday. Really rather got the impression in the podium interview that he felt at times he was quicker and maybe should have had the win. There is Bruno Spengler, another BMW, going from P7, and there is his car, running the familiar BMW Bank livery that is associated now with Bruno Spengler. So he goes from P7 on the grid. Then we see Augusto Farfus, Gusto, who goes from P6. Went about his qualifying in quite a quiet fashion, to be honest, and just quietly achieved the P6 for Augusto Farfus. We know he's capable of running very, very well, and he's clearly got a very quick car under him. Yeah,
last year we saw on occasions he wasted a good qualifying by a not brilliant start, so fingers crossed he can overcome that. From the grid, some of the manufacturers tweeting information and talking about the fact that the heat is on, drivers trying to find some shade, so it really is very, very hot out there. There's hardly a breeze either, there's not a cloud in the sky, so they are about to go and face very hot conditions for an hour plus of racing. So the drivers then are ready. Maxime Martin there, starting from 4th on the grid. Went well yesterday despite a little bit of damage, and the BMW driver, a double winner in the DTM, gets ready for the second race of the weekend here at the Red Bull Ring.
It is perhaps one of the most scenically, beautifully located circuits that the DTM goes to. Absolutely lovely here in Austria, and the heli shot shows you the track and the starting grid as well. It's Green, Felix da Costa, Glock, Martin, Mortara, Farfus, Spengler, Blomqvist, Rockefeller. Then it's Wittmann, Ekström, Tombe, and then the second page of the starting grid, as you can see there. Absolutely beautiful. And in the sunshine, and you made the point yesterday, might have been today actually, that this day last year when it was raining, it was still equally beautiful in a funny sort of way. You know, the place is fantastic, isn't it? And it's almost like it's manicured.
Well, I was about to say, it is absolutely pristine. There's not a blade of grass out of place. It is so well kept. Well, Mercedes hoping for a better day today. Let's go back to Verena with Uli Fritz.
Thanks, Verena. A little bit defeatist there from Uli. We'll come back stronger at Larsid's ring. You know, you and I have the theory that they've tried something overnight and they've gone in the wrong direction and it hasn't worked, because they do seem to be in a worse position than yesterday.
Yeah, as Uli Fritz was saying, but you never know. He might not want to reveal his hand if there is a trick up the sleeve. There's the pit stop in this, which might help in strategy. You don't know, but I'm surprised that Mercedes has taken a step back overnight, and I'm, surprised if they are going into this feeling defeated already, because that's not really the Mercedes way. Normally, they can try and get something out of the race. You never know, however, in the DTM. You don't know what's going to happen at the first couple of corners. That could shuffle the order around markedly as well.
And equally, you know, I can recall being in the one of the press conferences at the opening round at Hockenheim just a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, we've had a really hard winter and it's going to be very, very tough for us, and they had real pace at Hockenheim, so they can underplay sometimes. In the Drivers' Championship then, this is the way it looks as we go into this race. Paul di Resta now with a slender lead at the top of 3 points over Eduardo Mortara, and Marco Wittmann vaulted up to P3 in the points, with Robert Wickens at P4 ahead of Maxime Martin, who's P5.
That's right, ready for 60 minutes plus 1 lap, which is going to work out at round about 44, 45 laps of racing, around about that margin if we don't have a safety car to worry about. Based on qualifying times this morning, the weights the cars carry, 1120 kilos Audi, 1122.5 BMW, again heavier, Mercedes much lighter. Now that might just help a little bit, because they shed some weight. They lose 5 kilos from yesterday. They're down to 1110. You have to make a pit stop. The most that you can do on one set of the slick tyre is 29 laps. Therefore, the pit window effectively, because it opens at 14 laps, is 14 to 29. So that's when you can anticipate people coming in. And at the risk of boring the Austria off you, you've got DRS to factor into this as well. You get 63 uses from lap 2 onwards. That means, because you get 3 per lap, you've got 21 laps worth
of DRS.
Of DRS, indeed. So the team radio yesterday was very busy with drivers being informed how many laps of DRS they had relative to the car in front or behind. There'll be a lot of that chatter, I'm sure, during the course of the race. But you are looking at getting on for half of it, being able to use DRS.
Absolutely, and a point we should make is when you sometimes hear that radio traffic and it sounds like the pit wall are actually giving the driver how many laps are left. That's not the case at all. It's how many laps worth of DRS that they have available to them. So it's not race distance, it is DRS usage.
Yeah, and that DRS is activated as the rear wing drops, gives the car extra speed, and therefore is all to the good of the overtaking, particularly on the run up towards turn 2, if you can get the DRS to work there. But you've got to be close enough, first of all, to make it relevant.
Of course.
So they get one more warming up lap. They've had the installation lap round to the grid. There's one more lap to get some warmth into the tyres, and then we're going to be good to go racing. The Jamie Green Audi then at the front of the grid. With him lining up on the inside is Antonio Felix da Costa, then Timo Glock, then Maxime Martin, then Eduardo Mortara, also a winner this year, of course. 3 races, 3 different winners, namely Wittmann, Mortara and Paul di Resta, who would have been last on the grid, but Tomczyk and Ocon with their grid drops actually form a row behind as the cars set off. Now Tomczyk was guilty of blocking Christian Vitoris. Ocon was found guilty of blocking Matthias Ekström.
Right. So that's why those cars are at the back of the pack now, rather than Paul di Resta and Gary Paffett.
Yeah, indeed. So that's the exit of turn 1, the Castrol Edge corner through which the Castrol Edge Audi of Eduardo Mortara turns. That little yellow strip, which is getting less yellow as the weekend goes on with all the rubber atop it, that's the sort of sausage curb that's meant to be a deterrent for people running too wide. But inevitably, on the opening lap, certainly, people are going to run out of road because it's a narrow, tight corner. It's not to say that abuse of the track limits is to be encouraged, but there are occasions when it's inevitable. But turn 2 here, the Remus corner, this is a real pinch point, isn't it?
Very much so. It's very uphill, as you can see, and that after you've turned into the corner, it remains uphill almost until you cross that yellow line that you can see, and then it goes down, and then it's quite a way down, isn't it, to turn number 3, and we've seen several chances to overtake looked at there, whether you can just carry the momentum and keep the inside line going into turn 3. It's a long way around the outside of turn 3, but we have seen people try and do it there, and on occasions have been successful. So very, very interesting. Looking forward to seeing how they cope in the heat this afternoon.
Yeah, that turn 3 is not an orthodox place to try, and sometimes it's more in hope than in anticipation.
Yeah,
but
so.
If you can get around the outside and stand your ground for this next part of the circuit, swooping downhill, does stand you in good stead. And certainly on the opening laps, or indeed if you're catching somebody fresh after a pit stop, they've just come out of the pit lane and you're into your stint, then you'll try anyway, won't you?
Yes, of course. 4.3 kilometres, as you can see. The lap record then, a 1:25.266. Mike Rockefeller set that back in 2013. So 60-minute race plus 1 lap. Mandatory pit stop, as David has said, between laps 14 and 29. All set for a bit of drama, really, in the sunshine. See what strategy the three-pointed star have come up with, because it is going to be strategy only that could help them in this race. We fear that the pace is not there for the Mercedes cars. Look at the temperature.
And also, just think about Audi, because out of that top 10, 3 Audis versus 7 BMWs.
Okay,
so
yes.
BMW is numerically the strongest. So if Jamie Green gets a good start, is there going to be any help provided by Eduardo Mortara? He's got to get up from the 3rd row of the grid. He, like Edo yesterday, goes into this up against the opposition, and there's bulk opposition from BMW. So Jamie Green slots into place. Hopefully. He has not crept outside his grid box. 1 or 2 have done that in support races and ended up with a penalty for it. So in the Audi garage, they look on. At BMW, they get ready. And at Mercedes, they wait. We're 60 minutes plus a lap. Mandatory pit stop for everybody. The last car to slot into place is going to be Esteban Ocon, new to the DTM this year. He did 1 practice session last year, but he's new for the full season now. It's the 4th race of the season. We're ready to go.
So we await the green flag from the marshal at the rear, which we get right now, and the lights at the top left-hand side of your screen. Here comes the sequence. When 5 lights go out, we will be racing and heading towards turn number 1. Let's go racing. DTM then at the Red Bull Ring. Jamie Green covers the inside line immediately to protect himself through turn number 1. Antonio Felix da Costa, Timo Glock, Eduardo Mortara, Mike Rockefeller running very, very wide indeed.
He's not the only one. Gary Paffett was another as they worked their way through turn 1. Glock running side by side with Da Costa for 2nd place. Mortara 4th, but Jamie Green has managed to get the advantage as they head uphill towards turn 2. Glock on the inside. He's going to go 2nd. Da Costa on the outside line. Then 4th is Mortara. 5th is Martin. 6th is Farfus. 7th is everybody in one great gaggle, working their way out of the corner. Wide goes Robert Wickens, I think that is, gets back on track, and you're on board with Mortara now. He's staring at the back of Da Costa's BMW as they head downhill towards turn 3 with Jamie Green trying to get away.
Also running wide out of turn number 2 was Gary Paffett. As we watch the cars, and Nico Muller then out onto the curbs and getting very sideways. Paffett also out onto the curbs as well at the back of the pack as they make their way through. Matthias Ekström there. And there is Jamie Green. Timo Glock then into P2. Mike Rockefeller now.
You see there, you've had Tombe past Ekström, who was forced offline by Marco Wittmann. Rockefeller tries to buy into this as well. So Ekström not having a good first lap here, surprisingly, given his experience. A winner here last year. Mortara, a winner here last year, right on the tail of Da Costa then as they work their way for 3rd through the Red Bull mobile curve up towards the timing line at the end of lap 1. Jamie Green trying to get away while they squabble behind him, and the advantage he's got is 0.6 of a second.
So 6/10 is the margin between that car, Jamie Green, and Timo Glock in P2. Then it's Felix da Costa in P3.
Way wide he goes. keeps up the momentum, but this might just give Mortara a chance to challenge. DRS is now enabled, and Timo Glock uses it to his advantage. He was close enough to Jamie Green to go through into the race lead. And also, Mortara and Da Costa run side by side for third, but we've got a new race leader. It's Timo Glock up front. Can Jamie Green stay close enough and then use his DRS to go back in front?
And that's always it. What Timo Glock will try and do now is break that so that Jamie Green cannot come back at him.
Glock, remember, was only third fastest in qualifying. Mortara has his nose in front, but he's on the wrong line. Farfus has a look up the inside, but that is covered by Mortara.
Mortara had to dive in there, didn't he, because Farfus was ever closer. So there the P1 and P2 cars, and then whole gaggle behind. It's Antonio Felix da Costa in P3 at the moment, just getting away a little bit now from Eduardo Mortara, who's having to think about Augusto Farfus right behind him.
And then you've got Martin as well, and Blomqvist in that group as the cars work their way through. So on this lap, Farfus has got ahead of the Belgian driver. He's gained one place. We've got a yellow flag because somebody is off the road, and it is Muller in the Audi. Nico Muller is off the road, quite a long way off the road as well, looking at that.
Fine.
So
okay, I'm okay. Shit! Sorry.
So he's okay, but not very happy, that's for sure.
Remember to put data stick.
Okay.
And you don't just get out and walk away, you've got to get the data back to the team. Right, leaders go through. Glock versus Green. You've got Rockenfeller and Ekström all squabbling as well, with Timo Scheider on the back of this. Now is Jamie Green close enough this time to use the DRS? Can he get the lead back as they head up towards turn 2? Well, this is what happened a lap ago. And just looking into the distance, Timo Glock is hanging on to the lead at the top of the hill, but that's how he got the lead a lap back. So for now, it's BMW ahead of Audi.
So right into the back of Jamie Green.
Yellow flag, turn 6. Yellow flag, turn 6.
Antonio Felix da Costa being warned about the yellow flag, and that is Nico Muller going off.
Safety car deployed, safety car deployed.
So that means you can't use your DRS. The safety car comes out so that Muller's car can be moved to a safer place. And it means that everybody bunches up. So we'll get a chance to quickly run through the order in a moment and see how that stands us ready for the restart.
So Timo Glock then leading from Jamie Green P2, then it's Antonio Felix da Costa as we see Nico Muller walking away. P4 is Eduardo Mortara, then it's Augusto Farfus, Maxime Martin P6, Tom Blomqvist 7, Spengler 8, Wittmann 9, and Tombe in P10.
11th is Ekström, as this is Robert Wickens, the aggressor, against Nico Muller. So we saw Muller spear off into the gravel, but that answers how he got there.
Yes.
And look at that, a long way off. And in all the races that we've seen around here, not yet have I seen a car end up there.
No.
Strange incident, that. So Muller turns in, wait for the bang, there it is, gets sideways, knocks him across the gravel, and at that speed, even the gravel trap doesn't stop him particularly. He slides right the way through it, just into the tyres.
So another on-board shot then.
Off he goes.
Car going through the gravel.
Got Christian Vittoris, Dave, coming into the pit lane. Now, it looks like there might be some front damage on his car.
Well, under investigation, of course, that incident between Nico Muller, who we can see walking away to find a locked gate, and Robert Wickens, the aggressor. So, as you pointed out, Christian Vittoris in, but out again.
Yeah, they need to keep the car on the lead lap, basically. So if there is anything that needs doing, then maybe try and do it in the pit stop. If there isn't much to be done, just send him back out again and get him onto the tail of the Crocodile. Shouldn't take long, I wouldn't have thought, to move Muller's car out of the way. So Timo Glock leading from Jamie Green, Antonio Felix da Costa third, and then fourth Mortara, Farfus fifth, Martin sixth, seventh is Blomqvist, eighth is Spengler, ninth is Wittmann, 10th is Tombe. Out of the points, Rockenfeller's 11th, Ekström 12th, Scheider 13th, Junckerdaya 14th. Then it's our Tomczyk, Molina, Gertz, Wickens and Patfit to round out the top 20. Ocon, Di Resta and Vittoris are the survivors. And Nico Muller at least has time for the fans, despite the disappointment. He's going to be in action on Thursday in qualifying for the Nürburgring 24 hours. Quite a number of the Audi factory drivers and one or two Mercedes and one or two BMW pilots as well on duty in less than a week at the Nordschleife.
So then safety car stays out. And as you say, it shouldn't take long to recover that car from where it was. So hoping that potentially this will be the last lap maybe of the safety car. Back into Jamie Green's car as it bogged down a little bit and moved a little bit sideways, but was able to cover the inside line initially, wasn't he? Which was enough.
And Timo Glock third into the first corner, but then the work really started. He powered past Acosta and then a lap later sorted out Jamie Green for the race lead. Great sight these cars make when they're unleashed from the one-by-one staggered grid up the hill in towards turn one. Big puff of tar smoke as there was a lock-up towards the back of the pack. And Paul di Resta had a dreadful start. Went nowhere. Couldn't find a gear, couldn't get the drive. Maxime Martin's view. Timo Glock moves across and defends. Also defending there is Eduardo Mortara, who then goes to the outside line, just cuts across the front of the Belgian. And from on board Timo Glock, Jamie Green gets away, moves across straight away to defend from Antonio Felix da Costa, who then goes to the outside line on the run up towards turn one, tries the inside, and Glock positions himself ready to challenge. Da Costa wide and sideways, and Glock with better momentum up the inside takes second spot.
Really helped, didn't it?
Yeah, safety car in this lap. So Jamie Green needs to be on his toes, not only to attack Glock, but also to make sure he keeps da Costa behind him here.
Absolutely, and what Timo needs to do, of course, is, before DRS is re-enabled, is to get as far up the road as he possibly can.
Stick out his elbows to make sure that that's a wide BMW. So the Deutsche Post car, stamping its authority on the race thus far, comes into Rindt, speed quickens, safety car peels in, and a good restart from Timo Glock. He's already managed to get another, what, 2, maybe 3 lengths between himself and Jamie Green as we go back to racing, and he starts to weave around to break the toe as much as to try and get tyres back up to temperature.
So that big line of DTM cars head up to turn number one. Glock, Green. Green just getting a little bit sideways through that turn there as the rest of the pack come through. And just look at that. Glock really has opened up a gap over Jamie Green on that restart. Did that absolutely perfectly, didn't he? As he head up towards the Remus turn now. Glock turns in, so too does Jamie Green. Robert Wickens going to get a drive-through penalty for that collision with Nico Muller.
So at the moment, Robert Wickens down in 19th, and he's going to be right at the back of the pack after the drive-through as the leader works his way. Timo Glock down to turn 3, Green second. Third is da Costa, this man is fourth. Eduardo Mortara, you're riding with him out of turn 3, head downhill now.
So on board with Eduardo Mortara we were. There is Timo Glock leading this from Jamie Green. Antonio Felix da Costa trying to get ever closer to Jamie Green, but at the moment Green has got the measure of him. The rest of the pack, as you can see, all flying through this sequence of turns here at the Red Bull Ring. Mike Rockefeller in the Schaefer car there, and there is Matthias Ekström.
Ekström having a go on Tombe up the inside as they headed towards the Rindt curve. They've got Wittmann on the back of Spengler, way wide Ekström and Tombe. So Timo Scheider gets up between the pair of them, manages to split them. DRS enabled once again, but Timo Glock has built that gap. So Jamie Green might need to use it to try and get closer, and then use it on the next lap to try and make the move. But it's now down to the drivers and the teams as to work out when best to use the DRS. Robert Wickens, by the way, has just come in to serve the drive-through. There he is. That was for causing an avoidable collision with Nico Muller.
So Robert Wickens then on his way out of the pit lane now, and as you suggested, that will send him right to the back of the pack, and this is a replay of the, well, fairly aggressive move there on Nico Muller. And once that car was twitching, all Nico could do was be a passenger through the gravel until it came to rest against the barriers.
Green's under attack from da Costa here. Not to get any chance of him catching Timo Glock now. Jamie, who, bearing in mind, although he had a good lap time for pole position, didn't have the best of speed through the speed trap figures. He's in second place, having to defend like mad because that BMW looking much quicker is all over him like a rash now. But Jamie Green is stacking da Costa into the path of Mortara, who goes for the inside and takes third place. Good teamwork, that. Jamie Green gets away. Mortara's up to third. Here comes Farfus round the outside of da Costa, and now he's going to have a go at Mortara. Maxime Martin is in the mix as well. Over the brow they come down towards Rindt. Mortara, then Farfus, then Martin. So da Costa is the one that's really lost out of all of that.
Farfus was like a speeding bullet, wasn't he?
Absolutely right, but Jamie Green, under attack, was able to help Mortara gain a position there. Wow. For Antonio Felix da Costa, he's ended up in 6th place, and he's still under attack because he's got Blomqvist behind him.
Is Edo, and the gap is 1.3. 1.3.
Green, no DRS.
And this is how it all happened, as da Costa ran a little bit wide. Mortara committed to the inside and stayed committed, even though da Costa thought about defending. He realised that was not on, and look, Green's away. But Farfus, the real opportunist out of all of that, fabulous. Almost into the back of Mortara. And look at Martin. He gets up alongside the Portuguese driver as well and makes the move stick, heading down towards the Rint curve. Great racing.
You can see it from on board with Maxime Martin now. Right into the back. Steers out at the very, very last moment, and then it's switched across and he closed the door. Absolutely brilliant. I think it was the Martin one that impressed me more than the Farfus one, actually.
Yes, but both of them very opportunistic, and has Da Costa got a problem because he's now dropped back into the clutches of Blomqvist and he's still having to defend like mad. So rather than do any attacking now to regain lost ground, he is coming under attack all the time. So there is Eduardo Mortara. He's third, Farfus fourth, Martin is fifth. Have we got Ekström into the points yet? No. Double champ still down in 11th place as the cars now turn their way over the timing line. But Timo Glock is away and gone.
Green 1.2.
Fastest lap of the race, Mortara, who is now 9/10 back from Jamie Green. But barring a disaster, Timo Glock looks like he's got this in his pocket.
Yeah, he does rather. Best of the Mercedes actually is the local boy, Lucas Auer, P13. So all about Timo Glock at the moment with some 2.4 seconds of cushion.
And there you got Auer trying to find a way around the outside of Scheider for 12th place. Can't do it. Tomczyk now attacking Lucas Auer as well.
Lucas Auer is very much a lone Mercedes Ranger, isn't he?
Yeah, because Juncker Deyer is the next one. There's a couple of places behind him.
Then the rest of them.
Got to look very hard to find them, haven't you?
Yeah, all the way down P18 for Paffett, then De Resta, Gertz, Ocon, Vitoris, and Wickens.
Yeah, Robert Wickens after that drive-through down in 23rd place. So, race-leading advantage is 2.4 seconds. You're on board with Maxime Martin now, heading down towards the Verth corner. And then that little S exit, you sort of go all the way around the left, flick right, over the brow. There's the leader, 46 minutes on the Glock.
On the Timo Glock. So Timo Glock leading then. It was 2.4 seconds last time around. Jamie Green in P2. Super slow-mo here of Timo Glock then. And those are one of those sausage curbs which generate the sparks that you sometimes see.
I told you a lap ago that Eduardo Mortara had set the fastest lap. Well, he set an even better one now, so he's getting a little bit closer to Jamie Green. And in doing so, he's trying to shake off Augusto Farfus. There is Green at the head of the next train up towards turn 2. But Timo Glock just driving off into the distance at the moment.
Yes, he's margin 2.3 seconds. We go on board with Maxime Martin then, who's running in P5 with Augusto Farfus ahead of him. Great on-board shot that we can bring you of Martin at work. And there you can see just how close he is to Augusto Farfus now. Timo Glock then, and Eduardo Mortara getting ever closer to Jamie Green. That's the Inter-Audi battle over P2 and P3 before we're back to Farfus. Then it's Martin Da Costa, and we're watching at the moment Mike Rockefeller is P10 and Matthias Ekström is P11. And then it's Timo Scheider before we see the best of the Mercedes-Benz, which is P13 for Lucas Auer,
who did, with the help of a tow, the absolute best first sector of anybody in the race on this lap on the climb up towards turn 2. So there is Rockefeller, the last of the drivers in the points at the moment. He's got the World Rallycross Championship leader Matthias Ekström behind him. Timo Glock puts now 10 laps in the book and has just done the fastest lap of the race, so he stretches it to 2.4 seconds, the margin over Jamie Green. New best lap of the race, just done by Da Costa. So forget any thought about a problem. He's being able to respond now. There's Rockefeller versus Ekström versus Scheider. Lucas Auer leading the Mercedes class. He's in 13th spot. But a hugely frustrating day this for Mercedes. The car's just nowhere near quick enough, are they?
No, absolutely not. So once again, back on board with Maxime Martin, who's getting ever closer
to Farfus ahead of him. Robert Wickens has now done the fastest lap of the race, and he's on his own. He's not getting a tow because after the drive-through, there's nobody around him. But Robert Wickens has just proved that Mercedes might have a bit of pace after all, because he has been the fastest man in the race thus far.
extraordinary.
Yeah, he's all fired up, that's for sure, but that sort of goes against logic, doesn't it? What other evidence we've got? There is Timo Glock, absolutely on his own. Jamie Green second, dropping away. Third is Mortara. Farfus fourth. Martin fifth. Da Costa sixth. Blomqvist is seventh. Spengler is eighth. Wittmann is ninth. And Rockefeller is 10th.
Now, the Martin challenge on Augusto Farfus seems just for the moment to have gone away a little bit. There's Timo Glock going through. Jamie Green, P2. There's Eduardo Mortara. Farfus back to Martin. I just think that's opened up a little bit now. And Martin not chasing Farfus quite as he was. So as they cross the timing line once again, Timo Glock. Well, actually, he's lost out. It's down to 1.9 now. Was 2.4 last time around.
Correct. So Jamie Green is a little bit closer to him on that lap. There is Jamie riding the curb. So is Mortara Farfus. That's a great shot, isn't it? You can see just how wide people run. Molina goes wider than most there, and he has got Paffett right on his tail. 17th and 18th they are. So up towards the end of the first sector, the gap has increased again. Glock over Jamie Green. Martin is back on the tail of Farfus though. This long fleet of BMWs comes pouring through, doesn't it? You've got them 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and then Mike Rockefeller's Audi just in the top 10. On board with Martin, down to turn 3.
So Martin then inching closer to Augusto Farfus. He has Antonio Felix da Costa behind him, who, as we said, has regained the pace that he was showing earlier on. There is Mike Rockefeller then. And Mike Rockefeller is running in P10 with Matthias Ekström right behind, and then it is Timo Scheider, and then the best of the Mercedes-Benz drivers is P13, the pink machine of Lucas Auer. And those have broken away a bit from Martin Tomczyk, who, another BMW driver, who's running in P14. So there is the Augusto Farfus car. Jamie Green, Eduardo Mortara. Farfus getting a bit closer to Mortara now, I feel.
And the championship leader, Paul di Resta, is down in 19th place. And the man that's second in the championship, Eduardo Mortara, running third, so he should move into the lead of the championship here. And of course, Jamie Green, running second, has yet to score in terms of points this year. So even second place, I think, would be gratefully received, because that's not a bad haul of points. He might not be the winner, and he'll be frustrated about that, but second wouldn't be a bad result, as now Mortara is coming under attack again from Farfus, heading up towards turn 2. So it's battle on for 3rd and 4th places here. Ekström up the inside of Rockefeller, that gives him 10th, that gives him a point at last.
So there, the change of positions between Matthias Ekström and Mike Rockefeller.
And here's the move. With the DRS, up the inside goes Ekström, so he gets the extra speed, gets the job done, turns in, takes the place. And of course, Rockefeller gives him racing room, no point getting in the way of another Audi. So both Glock and Green now doing better lap times as the fuel load comes down. And in the first sector this lap, personal best by both, but Jamie quicker than Timo.
Been an assured drive from Timo thus far, hasn't it? Eduardo Mortara then, and Augusto Farfus on his tail. Likewise, Maxime Martin on the back of Augusto Farfus. Mortara P3, then it's Farfus, Martin, da Costa and Blomqvist. The same at the front between Glock and Jamie Green at 1.9. Down through the gearbox for turn 1, turn in.
Now I'm keeping an eye on the pit lane, because this is lap 14. You can pit at the end of it, so if you feed in at the end of this lap, you will complete 14 laps coming into the pit lane. And Mercedes mechanics straight ahead of us, as we look down from our commentary booth window, are making their way toward the pit apron. You can't go onto the apron until it's your car's turn to stop, but they're ready at the edge of the pit box, at the edge of the garage, with the tyres ready to go. They're getting themselves all pumped up, so we're going to have some early pit stops. This is where the teams are going to try to gain places with some lightning-fast pit stops.
Well, the garage that is directly opposite us is that of Maximilian Gertz, who is running where P21. As we go back on board with Maxime Martin, continuing to chase his brand mate. Augusto Farfus ahead. Jamie Green goes through. There is Eduardo Mortara. And there then is Tom Blomqvist. But this is Jamie Green. Timo Glock 1.9 to the good. So who is going to turn in this lap? And from your commentary window,
there's an Audi that's due in, because the team is in the pit lane and ready. In fact, we've got cars coming in now. One of them could well be Tombe, no, it's Scheider, in fact. Timo Scheider, number 10, comes in. There he is. You've got Martin Tomczyk, you've got Molina, you've got Paffett, and you've got De Resta. So 14 laps in. That means they're going to be quicker to begin with on a new, fresh set of tyres. So this is when they might be able to gain relative to the others whose tyres are starting to lose their life a little bit. And we'll see also in what order they go out. Scheider ahead of Tomczyk, Molina, Paffett, De Resta. Nobody gains, nobody loses out of that. Same order out, the same order in. OK. So the pit stops, in other words, were good. Nobody lost out significantly. And the order remains the same. 14 laps in. First 5 cars are pitted.
So, first 5 have pitted. Everyone has to take that mandatory pit stop. The window is between laps 14 and 29. As from that fantastic shot, we can see Timo Glock making his way through now. P2 is Jamie Green, and Timo Glock really has not put a foot wrong. He's kept that margin at around 2 seconds between himself and Jamie Green. At times it's been 2.4, at times it's been 1.9. There is Jamie Green P2, then it's Eduardo Mortara. For my money, Farfus looks a little bit closer to Mortara now. Hit in, and none of the leading group choose to go in.
Yes, they do. The leader is in.
Timo Glock, who, of course, was out of our shot at that point, so he's in.
So this is a significant one because this has got to be a good turnaround. It puts Jamie Green back in the lead. Matthias Ekström has just done the fastest lap of the race, so he's on a mission as well. Glock stops. 3 seconds is a good stop, and away he goes. And also in Lucas Auer, but Timo Glock then up the pit lane.
Watch the white line.
And watch the white line.
We have a used tyre set.
Watch the white line.
Track should be clear.
Means do not cross that pit lane exit line. If you do, there'll be a penalty. So Glock accelerates back into the race. Right, we need to see other stops relative to his. Jamie Green now has got to go like stick, hasn't he, to try and effectively buy back the lost time while he was behind Glock. Lucas Auer joins back in behind Miguel Molina, ahead of Gary Paffett, therefore. So he's lost out a little bit on the stops, hasn't he? He was further up the order than that.
Yes, he was further up the order.
So there's Green getting away from Mortara, whose job might now be to stack up the BMWs behind to give Jamie Green a bit more breathing space for when he rejoins after his pit stop. Is Jamie going to be in this time? No, he's going to stay out for one more.
Which is probably the right thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, as in now dives Da Costa and Blomqvist at the end of lap 16. There they are down the pit road. So 1.9 between the Audis. And we also need to see at the end of this lap where Timo Glock has ended up after his stop. You're on board with Martin now, so it is Green, Mortara, Farfus, Martin, Ekström, Spengler, top 6, given that the order is shuffling with the stops there. Costa gets away 2.8 seconds, that's good. Blomqvist, slow. In 3.4 is slow, I mean, but relatively, it's a slow stop. And Max Gertz has been in as well.
So there is Jamie Green then, who is effectively leading the race, but of course still to go in for his mandatory pit stop. Now, you mentioned the white line at pit exit. Under investigation is Timo Scheider for maybe crossing that white line.
Okay. Fastest lap of the race, Paul De Resta, new set of tyres. Interestingly, so he's now done a 24.5, as Jamie Green is lapping in the 25.1. So what's going to be interesting if he stays out for another lap is to see what Jamie Green's lap times are like relative to Timo Glock's, now on a different set of tyres.
So back on board with Maxime Martin, who is running in P4.
Green stays out, so does Mortara, so does Farfus, so does Martin. Very, very wide goes the Belgian driver. And look at Ekström creeping into the mix behind now. So does anybody pit this time? Interesting that the bulk of the Audis are staying out. Bruno Spengler comes in, yeah. But I think he's about the only one. Timo Glock then was 16th at the end of the previous lap. He's going to buy back some places this time, of course. Over the line he has just gone, so he's 13th now. That's going to become 12th with Spengler pitting. Great stop, 2.6 seconds. Bruno Spengler up the pit lane, and he will join in, certainly behind Blomqvist, who runs wide, and Spengler now up to speed, blasts up towards turn 2. He's ahead of Timo Scheider. So he keeps track position over Scheider. Jamie Green's advantage over Mortara is extending. His last lap, Jamie Green's, was a 24.6. Timo Glock's was a 24.6, although Glock 800s quicker. So there's not much to choose. But even so, if Jamie is not quicker than Timo, he's not going to be able to even think of coming out ahead.
No. So back on board with Maxime Martin then. Another one of those that is due to stop. Jamie Green stays out. In goes Eduardo Mortara. In goes Maxime Martin.
At the end of lap 18. So Jamie Green doing a long first stint. Stays out there. Up into second will go Farfus. Up into third goes Ekström. Fourth becomes Wittmann. Fifth is Rockenfeller. Sixth will become Junqueira. Down the pit road comes Eduardo Mortara. No further action being taken against Scheider. Not a bad stop, 3.2 seconds. I was just looking out of the window to see where Timo Glock was in relation to any traffic. Well, there's no traffic around him, so in other words, there's nobody that's going to get in his way.
No, so he's going to be able to,
Now there's Mortara, and Felix da Costa will go back ahead of Maxime Martin, look. So after the pit stops, Antonio Felix da Costa back up ahead of Maxime Martin. He has gained on the pit stops there. Fastest lap of the race now, Gary Paffett. I keep telling you about Mercedes drivers. They're a long, long, long way down, but all of a sudden the Mercedes cars are getting quicker. So the pit window lasts effectively until lap 29. Jamie Green carrying on. His last lap was a 24.4. Timo Glock's last lap was a 24.4, but it's hundredths quicker the BMW over the Audi.
Right.
So it's all adding up, and he's in this time. At the end of 19 laps, Jamie Green heads for the pit lane. Now, Timo Glock's stop was bang on 3 seconds, the actual work being done, never mind drive in to drive out. Farfus comes in as well, but let's see if we get a clock on Jamie Green's pit stop. Rockenfeller comes in the background, as also does Junqueira. So Jamie Green stops. They need to beat 3 seconds. Oh, indeed. By 10th. Well, every little helps.
Well, he's on his way now. We've got the map to the right-hand side of the screen for you, but Timo Glock is on his way down the start-finish straight now. He's about to go through turn 1. He's going to be very, very untroubled.
Yeah, he's got to keep the lead, isn't he, after the pit stops. There is Jamie Green, who only now can floor it and accelerate away. And, of course, Timo Glock is into a stint, so his tyres are up to temperature.
Yes.
There's Mortara ahead of da Costa, who's also bought himself the place back against Farfus. So it was a really good turnaround in the pits for Antonio Felix da Costa. 2.8 seconds, remember. It was a demon stop. And he's having a look at the inside of Mortara. Can't do it. So the battle is on for third place now. So this is going to put temporarily Matthias Ekström in the lead of the race.
Yes. So there's those still to come in then. Ekström, Wittmann, Tombe, Ocon. So Antonio Felix da Costa right on the back of Eduardo Mortara. There is Farfus Martin. And also Blomqvist, those a trio of BMWs together there.
Da Costa's car really has come alive, hasn't it? Again? Yes. After the pit stop, we thought early on he was fading, having lost those places, but he's managed to buy them back on the pit stops and do some really good laps on this next set of tyres.
And in fairness, just before the pit stops, the pace had come back, hadn't it, you know?
He was picking it up again. So there is Mortara with da Costa right on his tail, working their way over the timing line. So Timo Glock it is who leads the way effectively because he's the best of the pit stoppers. Jamie Green is 3.2 seconds behind him, so that's what we now need to monitor. Eduardo Mortara in a real third place ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa. Is he close enough to benefit from the DRS? He should be.
He's certainly deployed it, hasn't he?
Yeah, up the hill they go, heading towards turn 2, but it's not quite worked out for him, and Mortara will defend the inside line. To the outside goes da Costa. Nobody close enough to benefit from him being squeezed out, but Mortara, good defence, hangs onto the place. Right, Jamie Green, fractionally quicker than Glock in sector 1. Ekström, Wittmann, Tombe, Ocon, the pretend top 4, because they've all yet to stop.
Yes.
Down towards turn 3, Mortara keeping da Costa behind him. Then it's Farfus, then it's Martin, then it's Blomqvist.
Now, do bear in mind here that Antonio Felix da Costa, who has got the benefit of DRS, Eduardo Mortara does not have that benefit. So Edo having to do a stoic job in defence, and is doing so at the moment. And both getting away a little bit from Augusto Farfus and Maxime Martin.
And Martin under attack from Blomqvist as down the pit lane comes Marco Wittmann and also Esteban Ocon. Matthias Ekström going a long, long way in the lead of the race. His lap time at 24.5, so they're not bad lap times. He's actually lapping quicker than Timo Glock. It's going to be very interesting to see where Ekström comes out because he's in clear track space now. There's nobody around him. And he's doing very good lap times, as I say, better at the moment than Timo Glock. There you've got Spengler, Scheider, Rockenfeller and Tomczyk heading up towards turn 1. Wittmann is going to rejoin just ahead of Spengler. So he maintains track position over Bruno Spengler, who can now perhaps use the DRS to come up alongside the Red Bull. Back to BMW. Timo Scheider will try and buy into this as well if he can. They come side by side to turn 2.
2 laps more DRS than the cars behind.
And round the outside. Good pass that by Spengler.
Good pass. So you heard there the team radio saying how many laps of DRS you had over another driver. And now look at this, all weaving behind that Marco Wittmann car. Ekström and Tombe, the only two that have not been in now.
And Ekström has just stayed out. He's gone past us once more. Still doing laps at the 24s. Good lap times. Some of those that have pitted, and admittedly are in traffic, are doing laps at the 25s. Jamie Green, however, did a lap at 25.4 last time, which is a bit of a surprise. That's a chunk slower than it needs to be. But with Ekström on his own, in clear track space, and doing good laps here, it's going to be really interesting to see where he feeds back in. There goes Jamie Green, who is now 3.7 seconds back from Timo Glock. He's lost half a second already. Then it's Mortara, then it's Da Costa, then it's Farfus, Martin, Blomqvist, Spengler, Wittmann, Scheider, Rockenfeller, all in a line. Tomczyk next, then Junkadea, round turn 1 they go. And we're on lap number 23. Now, in terms of the clock, what have we got? 26 3/4 minutes plus a lap.
So around the Remus turn, there's Gary Paffett fighting with the Miguel Molina car. Fighting over P16. Now as they head down towards turn 3, Paffett to the outside. It's a very long way round there. Covers that, and Paffett remains behind for the moment, but Gary's certainly looking a bit lively there in terms of trying to find a way past that Audi.
Does Gary ever not look lively?
No, I mean,
he's
that's a fair point.
Always committed, isn't he? And he's a real trooper for Mercedes. Even when things aren't going well, he's able to put that behind him and think of the brand. He's been very loyal to Mercedes and vice versa now for many, many years, working his way up towards the end of the lap, but the leader goes through.
20 laps to go.
So 20 laps anticipated. Ekström is still lapping quicker than Glock. Up the inside here, Wittmann versus Spengler. Do they lean on each other? They just brush. Wittmann slightly compromised as he heads up towards turn 1, but he hangs on to the place. And then look, you've got behind the pair of them now, Scheider and Rockenfeller trying to buy into this as well.
Absolutely, they're both going to try and be involved in this, aren't they?
Scheider to the outside of Spengler, Rockenfeller to the inside of Scheider. Heart-in-mouth stuff, because what they don't want is A, to collide, or B, let Tomczyk up into the mix as well behind them. Mortara versus Da Costa. Da Costa did the absolute best first sector on this lap. He's close enough, he attacks, he's alongside. He's going to be on the outside line on the run down the hill. Can he make it stick? Mortara, he's going to have to give way unless he can really break late going into the next left. He tries it, there's contact. Da Costa's going to get bungled out wide and then off into the gravel. Da Costa is off, Mortara is off. Da Costa gets some tarmac and will rejoin, but Mortara is stuck. Race over, Mortara is beached.
Copy, we've seen that.
Well, we saw that on the onboard.
I don't know what the fuck happened, like.
Antonio, high impression, any
I think like one broke.
That's going to be a safety car, or certainly a slow zone at least, to get it out of the way. Slow zone deployed, not a safety car, slow zone, so the gaps will be maintained.
So
Yes, I can continue.
out of the car then.
Copy.
3 wide, Paffett, Molina, Tomczyk, Paffett goes past them. Tomczyk, the one dropping down the order out of all of that, and slides wide, so Di Resta goes past him.
This guy just drove me off the track, I was clearly in front. What happens now? Come on.
Da Costa saying he was driven off the track. Well, that's up to the stewards to decide. They'll no doubt have a look at that. Certainly Mortara wasn't giving up, was he?
No, he wasn't.
It's put him in the gravel.
Understood. It's understood. Try and keep your focus. There's nothing we can do now. There is slow zone 3 deployed. Slow zone 3 deployed.
So that slow zone, just to make the point, means that the cars have to go at a slow pace through a given yellow line to yellow line, so that car can be hoiked out of the way. And from that angle, you would say, yes, Mortara has a case to answer. He was trying to stay on the inside, but he was behind. This was the angle we'd seen previously. Da Costa is ahead, he moves across.
Yeah, I think...
Bit optimistic, to say the least. Yeah, Mortara chancing his arm there. Farfus the big winner out of all of that.
Well, that incident is under investigation, as you would expect.
So another frustrated Audi driver walks away. We've lost Nico Müller from the ABS team. We've lost Eduardo Mortara from the ABS team. There's the car being retrieved. Incidentally, lap times, of course, with the slow zone quite obviously go up. But even so, Ekström is still lapping quicker than Glock. So, I keep saying it, I'm going to be fascinated to see where Eki feeds back in. But a podium? No, that's perhaps too tall an order. Top 6 he should be on for, at least. But we shall see. So there's Farfus versus Martin. That's the new battle for the real third place. The other one that's staying out, by the way, second on the road, doing a long, long stint, is Adrian Tombe. And Ekström's got a problem. Oh, no, he hasn't. He's in the slow zone. Apologies, yes. He's crawling through the slow zone because the car is still being moved, isn't it? Yes, so that shows you how slow the slow zone goes. Absolutely, yes. I could see all my calculations about his lap times going out the window there. Panic over.
Well, the cars really do look pedestrian when they're in that slow zone.
Yes, it looked like it was about to stop,
yes.
So slowly was it going, yes.
So super slow-mo there of the Matthias Ekström car. There is Timo Glock. You can see that just running onto those sausage curbs is enough to make contact with the bodywork. Here is Matthias Ekström then, who remarkably still stays out there.
I don't think you can pit while the slow zone is deployed. That's the problem. So he's got to stay out for a bit longer anyway. But for as long as the lap times are good, he can do so.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see the cars back at a proper pace now. I can stop panicking, can't I? That's what they look like in the slow zone, crawling through en masse. There's Jamie Green then, who is 3.7 seconds back from Timo Glock.
So there, Timo Glock. And there, Jamie Green, and just into the picture now, Augusto Farfus and Maxime Martin with Tom Blomqvist a few lengths behind. So the slow zone 3 then has been removed. That now becomes a green flag, so we're back to race pace all the way around the lap then, with the final 20.5 minutes of this DTM race to come. So Matthias Ekström and Adrien Tombe then, the two that have not yet pitted. Augusto Farfus then, and Maxime Martin full of revs as they come through that Remus turn now, and it's the long run down to turn 3. And for my money, Martin is closer now to Augusto Farfus than he has been. Just take a sneaky look at the inside, but he's not close enough to be able to do so. And of course, the more these two battle, the more it will allow Tom Blomqvist potentially to get on terms with them as well. But Martin, for my money, does look quicker now than Augusto Farfus, David.
I'd go along with that, certainly as they head downhill, but now, of course, you've got BMW versus BMW, and it needs to be managed properly. M-Tech car for Farfus versus RBM run car, Racing Bar Mampe for Maxime Martin there. Benelux team. Ekström has stayed out for another lap. Now back at a proper pace. There is Farfus then, still pushing. Blomqvist has had a good weekend, former winner around here in Formula 3, and accelerating on a tighter line up out of the Red Bull Mobile Curve. The incident between Da Costa and Mortara under investigation. More news on that when it comes. So there, staying out, is Matthias Ekström. He leads on the road, but where will he feed back in after the pit stop?
Well, he's had lap after lap after lap of staying out, hasn't he? And still delivering good lap times relative.
Absolutely. So clear of the slow zone now. And there's only him and Tombe to come in, and Audi mechanics are ready on the pit apron this lap. So is it going to be for this car? Is it going to be for Tombé's? Or could both get service? Let's see. There is the Abt team. So Tombé is a Rosberg driver, so it's Matthias Ekström that we anticipate in, and he will work his way now through the Rindt curve, straight into the pit lane, on the grass, and when he gets to the white line, he'll hit the button, slow right down, and head down the pit lane as Da Costa and Mortara are going to be referred to the stewards, who can have a look at the evidence post-race.
Hans-Jürgen Abt looks on then. We throw the map to the right-hand side of the screen.
Now Glock's pit stop was 3 seconds, and 2.6 is a mega one, so allowing for the fact that Ekström was doing good lap times anyway.
Start finish, Glock on start finish, Glock approaching turn 1. Now Jamie approaching turn 1, Jamie apex turn 1, stay behind Jamie, a big gap to the rear, stay behind Jamie.
Third place, brilliant, fantastic. And that shows you how the strategy can work in your favour. They left him out, clear air, good lap times,
yes.
push, push, push. And look, with the BMWs tripping over themselves and having their own battles and doing slower lap times, Ekström, who wasn't in the points for much of the first part of the race, is now third. I think I said a podium might be a tall order, but top 6 was possible. Well, they've even surprised me with that. Top 3, that was a brilliant job done by the Abt team and by Ekström. And look, he's bypassed all of this traffic.
Absolutely. And that's where strategy can work, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Yeah. A safety car at that point would have ruined it for them. But by dint of having the slow zone, that played in their favour.
Yes. Well, Matthias Ekström now then is P3. So all of a sudden, the BMW Fest is not quite so BMW rich.
No, what was also interesting was he was being told to stay behind Jamie.
Yes.
So I'm not anticipating a fight between them. Jamie Green has done the hard yards for Audi in this race, and he has been up there ahead of all of them. So that looks like he's going to stay that way. But Ekström then, up into third place. Tremendous job that. 16th in the championship coming into this race, so a podium I think he'd be well chuffed with. So the order is Glock, Green, Ekström, brackets, wow, close brackets. Farfus 4th, Martin is 5th, Blomqvist is 6th, Wittmann is 7th, Spengler is 8th, Scheider is 9th, Rockenfeller is 10th, 11th is Tombé, 12th is Paffett, up from, what was he, 21st on the grid, good job done. 13th is Junckendaya, 14th is Da Costa, after his trip through the gravel, 15th is Modena, 16th is De Resta, 17th is Auer, 18th is Vittorius, 19th Ocon, 20th Tomczyk, 21st and 22nd Götze Wickens.
Breathe. Right, this is our next challenge, can Paffett get into the points here? 16 minutes left to run.
Not easy, because he's got 2 Audis to work against.
Yes, but they're all in a bunch, aren't they? And he's right in there.
Yeah, he's 4 tenths back from Tombé. Tombé is 9 tenths back from Rockenfeller. So in other words, Gary is over a second behind Rockenfeller, and if Tombé makes life difficult, the gap would grow anyway.
Yes.
I'm not sharing your optimism here.
No, okay.
But we'll see, because there he is, and the gap's coming down. The thing is, Tombé would quite like to get past Rockenfeller, because he's on fresher tyres now.
Yes, of course he is. He, of course, with all our excitement of Matthias Ekström and the fact that you stopped breathing for a moment, yeah, Tombé stayed out for a jolly long while as well.
Yeah, came in on the same lap, but his pace wasn't as good, so it's not benefited him in quite the same way. But he's on the fringes of the top 10, let's put it that way.
So some super slow-mos then, through the lens. The car of Adrien Tombé and Eduardo Mortara, and also Maxime Martin are there. And Tom Blomqvist's car up on the sausages, and there too is the Mercedes-Benz up on the curbs as well. Some really, really colourful shots that we've got for you. The race being led by Timo Glock, 4.1 seconds over Jamie Green. Then it's Matthias Ekström, who is 2 seconds down on Jamie Green in P3. There's Maxime Martin running P5, and then Blomqvist is P6 before we get to yesterday's winner, Marco Wittmann. Then that whole gaggle of cars of Spengler, Scheider, Rockenfeller, Tombé and Paffett.
Down towards turn 3 comes this next gaggle with Tombé on his toes to see if he can find a way past Rockenfeller. Rosberg car for Tombé, Phoenix run car for Rockenfeller. You tend to think of them purely as the manufacturers, but there are independent teams running the cars, and the yellow and green colours adorning the Phoenix entry of Mike Rockenfeller. Gary Paffett then is in touch, but having to stare at the back of the Audi for the moment.
Well, of course, we've got Bruno Spengler at the front of that gaggle, if you like, haven't we, who is running in P8. There you can see the Mike Rockenfeller car, which is P10.
Have a guess who's done the fastest lap of the race. Matthias Ekström has just done the fastest lap of the race, a 1:23.9. Makes you wonder what he was up to in qualifying, in a sense, doesn't it? Just couldn't get that lap in the qualifying period at lunchtime. But now, Ekström, 1.9 seconds off Jamie Green. He's only 8 thousandths quicker, granted, to get the fastest lap, but the pace is there. But what a turnaround from the AB team and Ekström together on the strategy to put him onto the podium here.
DRS being deployed by Gary Paffett then as he chases down the Adrian Tombe car ahead. And once again, of course, the wings go down. Tombe, of course, having the benefit of that as well. So, therefore, the advantage is mitigated, isn't it?
It is, as now Rockenfeller starts to think about getting past Timo Scheider. They all want to get past Spengler. He's the problem for Audi here.
He is the cork in the bottle, isn't he? Well, of course, you know, actually that's great news for somebody that's on the back of the train like Paffett, because if they start squabbling and arguing, that allows him to get ever closer.
Timo Glock, meantime, out on his own up front. 3.9 seconds last time. The gap was down by Nat Semi-Crotchet. Then you've got Jamie Green second, Matthias Ekström there third, and some way back in fourth place now is Farfus. Ekström still pounding on. Up towards the line, through goes Glock, a 24.1. Jamie Green's lap time is slower, so the gap widens again.
But again, Ekström was quicker.
Yes, than both. So net, he's gaining on the leader. There he is, winner here last year. And behind him, Augusto Farfus is keeping at bay Maxime Martin. In sixth place is Tom Blomqvist, and it's Wittmann, Spengler, Scheider, Rockenfeller, Tombe, Paffett, taking you 8th to 12th. That's a battle pack headed by Bruno Spengler. We'll see shortly whether or not the Audis are able to find a way through, as Farfus just wobbles his way over the curb a little bit in the background. New fastest lap of the race, set by. Any prizes for guessing?
It'll be Matthias Ekström.
It'll be Robert Wickens. Good God, obviously, because he's 22nd.
Of course.
Quite right. You know, how could you think anybody else? So, still, people, even if they're not running with a tow and not benefiting in any way from the DRS against the traffic, are still able to do good lap times.
That throws away the form book, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, the point you were making just a moment ago about what happened to Matthias Ekström in qualifying.
And what happened to Mercedes in qualifying if now they're able to do such strong lap times. The gap between second and third is coming down still, only by fractions, but it's coming down. Ekström looking the quicker to the eye as well, using more of the road, that's for sure. There's Farfus, then Martin, then Blomqvist. But Timo Glock here, looking as though he's going to be our fourth different winner in 4 races in this year's DTM.
We have 11 minutes left to run, plus 1 lap in this second, the longer of the 2 DTM races across the course of the weekend. Glock with a 3.8 second margin over Jamie Green then. And there, the cork in the bottle that we were explaining just a moment ago is the BMW bank car of Bruno Spengler. And now joining in that party as well is Daniel Juncker-Deyer on the back of Gary Paffett. Mike Rockenfeller's DRS deployed, and there you can see our lead car of Timo Glock.
And Martin looking closer to Farfus again now for 4th place. So as they come back into shot look at the top of the picture, you can see how much closer Maxime Martin has got to Augusto Farfus. 10 more minutes to go. And Ekström still really pushing, isn't he, up onto the curb there on the outside of the corner. The commitment never goes away from Ekström, does it?
No.
We've talked about Gary Paffett being a great ambassador for Mercedes, and even if things aren't going his way, he will still give 100%. Ekström is very much the same. Last year, on a number of occasions, we saw him qualify badly, a bit like today, but he is very much a racer and will always deliver for Audi. So there is Martin, who at the start of the lap was 7/10 back from Farfus, and this rather elasticated gap has stretched open again.
So to reinforce your point about commitment and the way he's thrown that car around, some super slow-mos of Matthias Ekström, then Jamie Green, which he goes a bit further over the sausage curve there. And there, our race leader, Timo Glock.
So the gap second to third, Green to Ekström, 1.1 seconds now. And Matthias Ekström is lapping quicker than Jamie Green, and fractionally quicker as well than the race leader. Now, were Ekström to be ahead of Jamie Green, could he catch Timo Glock? It's one now for the Audi pit wall to have to think about. It might be that Timo Glock is driving within himself, and if he were suddenly under attack, he could push harder, but hard one to call this. Ekström is closing. He's not close enough to think about attacking. He's still chipping away. 11/10 being that margin between them as Ekström there swoops downhill. So Timo Glock leads the way for BMW. The best of the Mercedes. Where do we get to? Gary Paffett now, and he's in 12th place.
So still out of the points for Gary Paffett in P12. What have we got? 8.5 minutes left to run in this race. And 23.8 for Matthias Ekström last time. This is Mike Rockenfeller.
In replay, getting past Spengler.
Did get past Bruno Spengler, who's proved to be caught for a little while, hasn't he?
But that was with plenty of racing room. I think Spengler eventually thought, yeah, Rockenfeller is quicker, I'm going to have to let him by here. So there goes Jamie Green, there goes Matthias Ekström. 1.1 becomes 0.8 of a second.
Getting closer and closer, isn't it? Now, that's going to be a really interesting discussion on the Audi pit wall, isn't it?
And I think also going through Matthias Ekström's mind is, even if I'm not going to be able to get past, I'm going to prove how much quicker I am late in the race. So he's on the tail pretty much of Jamie Green now, going up towards turn 2.
Of course, the benefit Eki has is that he has got DRS, Jamie Green doesn't.
Yeah, true. And that would be the same in pursuit, were he to get close enough to Timo Glock. But 7.5 minutes to go. He is net catching the leader, because what was 5 seconds is down to 4.6, first to third. Not sure there's enough time left in the race. But it's been an extraordinary turnaround, hasn't it, from Ekström after a fairly bleak qualifying session.
Yes. So there you see Jamie Green, and visibly closer is Matthias Ekström. Edo Mortara now. Verena has managed to catch up with Edo. Thanks, Verena. Well, here in replay is Matthias Ekström getting past Jamie Green then.
And that, I think, is managed by Audi because he has been the quicker, yes. And Jamie didn't put up a defence there. So look, Ekström is through and Ekström is pulling away. 11th he started, lost a bit of ground at the start, but if he can get onto the tail of Timo Glock, could he think about winning the race? Well, he's going to have a really good go. We've got 5 minutes plus a lap. The gap is 4 seconds. This is going to be fascinating now. How many more laps of DRS has Ekström got? That's the question.
Yes.
Because while he was out in clear track space, he may not have been using it. No, he wasn't trying to catch anybody. He's only trying to do quick lap times. So how many laps has he got left? Discuss. There's Gary Paffett, who is in 11th place. We also, while we were hearing from Eduardo Mortara, saw Timo Scheider being given a bit of a rough time, and likewise Adrian Torbay. So there's been a bit more of a sort out down the order. Right, sector 1, another 10 pullback by Ekström.
On board with Paul Di Resta now, who's running in P15, who's got Miguel Molina ahead of him. It was interesting to hear Verena talk to Eduardo Mortara, who very much feels that he was the wronged one. So Paul Di Resta right on the back of Molina. Yukadea ahead. As you can see, Yukadea just go through there. So Paul Di Resta trying to fight his way towards, would you believe it, P14. So Glock leading from Ekström. Paffett then in P11, the best Mercedes, and just out of the points by 1 place. Chasing down Timo Scheider ahead. Timo Glock to Matthias Ekström, then 3.7 with 3 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap left on this second of the DTM races there. See Matthias Ekström, superior pace over Jamie Green. The gap is
3.7. If he makes a mistake, we are there. If he makes a mistake, we are there. We have 3 minutes, 30 seconds left.
So there, the team telling him it's going to take a mistake, really.
But Ekström is still pushing. Just as you see a sideways Scheider defending there from Paffett for 10th place. Let's just focus on this for a moment. I'll come back to what I was going to tell you in a second, Dave. But Paffett to the outside, DRS enabled, but the outside line, he's going to have to brake very, very, very late. This is Timo's favourite corner from last year, remember, when he got his snooker cue out. But he's able to hang on to the place for now. Gary Paffett on the outside has to drop back in. I was just trying to do some quick arithmetic, and although De Resta is out of the points, with Mortara being out of the race as well, and Marco Wittmann down in 7th, I think De Resta's going to keep his championship lead. There's nobody else scoring well enough that was in the equation to begin with. There is Paffett round the outside. They lean on each other, but Scheider stands his ground, and the line comes back to him on the inside. Right, leader goes through, and it's 3.3. It was 4, then 3.7. It's now 3.3. It's 2.5 minutes. It's going to be 3 more laps, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's not coming down enough.
No. And as he's been told on the radio, it's probably going to take a mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in fairness, Timo has not made many of those.
And there's no sacrificial back-marking Audi that might just get in the way, is there?
No. Well, here's Paffett with DRS deployed once again on Timo Scheider. This for the last points place. Just took a look at the inside, but it wasn't quite doable. But now he'll try as they head down towards turn 3 once again, which is where he tried it last time.
Indeed so, but he wants to be on the inside, not the outside, and that is where he goes. But Scheider defends, so Paffett switches sides. Again into the braking area, they come absolutely together. Can Paffett get the undercut through the corner? He's thinking about it, but he's also conscious that right there behind him is Adrian Tombe. So for now, Scheider hangs on to 10th place. Paffett looks out of the draft and slots back in again as they go through turn 4. Through Pirelli, down towards Verf. Race leading gap is coming down all the while.
Glock runs a bit wide, but so too does Ekström.
2 laps to go.
Okay, so you've got this and 1 more. Ekström's not going to get there in time, but from 11th to 2nd, and just look how much time he's pulled over Jamie Green.
Gap is 3.2, all fine.
Yeah, because only a 10th has been pulled back on that lap. So yeah, Glock has got it under control, unless he makes a mistake. But if Ekström were to get close enough to benefit from the DRS, it could be touch and go.
Yes. Well, once again, Paffett will line up Timo Scheider ahead. And he's certainly not going to give up this fight to get into the points.
We've just had another best lap of the race posted by Robert Wickens down in 20th place.
Thank you.
As there is Molina defending from De Resta. Behind him is Auer, behind him is Vitoris. On board with Paul De Resta now in 15th place. It's been a long day in the office, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, rather.
Paffett again on Scheider.
So, can Paffett do it this time? Once again, Scheider closes the door. He has to go to the outside, which is not where he needs to be. And once again, he's got Tombe really champing at the bit behind him as well. And running out of time. And Scheider is resolute in his defence at the moment. And Gary just not able to make it stick at the moment. And he's only going to have 1 more lap in which to do it, too. Get into a points-paying position, which he would dearly love to do, which would be a remarkable achievement given where he started.
Absolutely right. The leaders have gone through. The gap's down again. It's 2.9 seconds. We're on the last lap of the race.
Last lap. Gap is 2.9.
Full credit to Ekström and Ab for a tremendous recovery from 11th on the grid, but Timo Glock has driven a storming race.
Yes, he has.
3rd into the first corner, got past Acosta, got past Green. Clearly, Jamie's car has not had the pace in the race that it had to do the qualifying time, which is why he's kind of faded to 3rd, but I think he'll still be content with a podium. But Timo Glock for BMW is going to round out a great weekend for the Bavarian brand. A win yesterday for Marco Wittmann. Timo Glock on target for a victory in today's race. It'll be a 3rd DTM victory. He was 4th yesterday, but bearing in mind he came away from Hockenheim with a retirement and a disqualification to his name. Season starts here.
Yes, absolutely. And Paffett with a problem. So then where once he was chasing to get into that points position. Well, that's what the problem was, being run onto the grass there.
And Tombay uses DRS to get past him, so a double whammy for Gary Paffett.
So Timo Glock then heads towards the checkered flag. It's been a very, very competent drive from Timo Glock. It's been remarkable.
Okay, Timo, you won your first race with us. Well done, well done. Remember, your microphone is not working, but we are celebrating here. Congratulations for the run. Now, please take the pickup, do fuel saving, pickup and fuel saving. Well done. Great job.
Well, his microphone may not be working, but he's celebrating in the car. I was going to say, what a remarkable...
Hey, Timo, you are the man. Thanks a lot, and thanks for driving me on Thursday.
And Timo, just some more comments from my side. Remember the USB stick. Of course, remember to switch off the car completely, steering wheel in place. And of course, celebrate, please, on the podium for us. Well done.
So the pickup, first of all, is to explain that, to get the extra rubber to make sure the car is of a given weight. The USB stick is to make sure that all the data comes back to the team. What else was on the to-do list?
Here, a very, very delighted, I'm sure, Jens Marquardt has been caught already by Verena. Thanks very much, Verena. What I was going to say was, and I've been trying to say it for a few laps, or for a few moments, was what remarkable work from Matthias Ekström and the team.
Yeah. I mean, you could see what the plan was, couldn't you, as he stayed out for longer and longer in the clear air, and the lap times were coming. But, yeah, I was anticipating a top six. I wasn't expecting third after the pit stops, and then to take second place. I know that was perhaps more of an easy pass given the pace that he had. It made sense for Audi to put him up into second position. And at the end of the day, this is as much a strategic element for the brands as it is for the drivers. But, yeah, if after yesterday, Ekström was a frustrated driver, today he'll be delighted with that save from 11th, dropped back a little bit early in the race, and then a recovery for second position, his best finish of the year.
So, Timo Glock out of the car then. And as we heard the team say, his microphone was not working. That certainly didn't stop his celebrating to the onboard camera. And they're celebrating on the roof of the car right now.
Do you stand on the roof of your BMW like that?
Probably best I don't.
Well, Timo Glock has managed to do so without putting too many footprints on the roof of the car. And the other instruction from the team was to celebrate for us on the podium. Well, he will get there, has to get out of the car, put the steering wheel back into place so that the officials can move that if they need to. And then the drivers, first of all, have television interviews to do, and then will be rounded up and taken to the podium. So it is a BMW win, but two Audi drivers up there with him, second and third. Timo Glock, Matthias Ekström and Jamie Green. Timo's best of the year, Matthias's best of the year, Jamie's best of the year.
Absolutely. So you can hear the applause against the barriers there. As Matthias Ekström was being interviewed there by former Mercedes head Norbert Haug. So the order then: Timo Glock, Matthias Ekström, Jamie Green, followed by Farfus, Martin, Blomqvist, Wittmann, Rockenfeller, Spengler, Scheider, Tombay, and Daniel Juncker-Deyer then the best of the Mercedes drivers, with Gary Paffett finishing P13 after being run onto the grass, Molina, De Resta, Auer, Vitoris, then it was Ocon, Tomczyk, Wickens, Felix da Costa and Gertz. And presumably Robert Wickens was still the fastest lap. Mr. A,
I'm just looking. I have a suspicion that Ekström might have gone quicker right at the very end.
Well, in any event, there is the celebration from Timo Glock. And getting the repeat of that now. Fantastic drive from Timo Glock. Incredible, incredible strategy for Matthias Ekström, and drive from him as well. And good drive too from Jamie Green. So the celebrations continuing down there for Timo, who was also thanked for driving his engineer in on Thursday.
And Robert Wickens, just to confirm, did do the fastest lap. A 1:23.4 was the best lap, and he set that on lap 40 of the race, and we did 42, so almost at the very end as the car was getting lighter and lighter on fuel.
And finished P20.
Yeah, all that effort for no reward in terms of points in the championship, but really odd that the cars seem to have decent pace. But when you're so far back after qualifying, and of course Wickens had his drive-through for the earlier clash with Muller, he was always going to be out of the picture, wasn't he?
So then, the DTM races here at the Red Bull Ring done and dusted, and once again another different winner, and there is the man that set the fastest lap then, Robert Wickens, who doesn't look entirely thrilled with that as he heads back towards his garage. And Wolfgang Ulrich there, head of the Audi Motorsport, of course. Up next for DTM, it's the Lausitz Ring. Another different challenge which comes right at the beginning of June, 3rd, 4th and 5th of June, as everyone assembles down there, and podium will be just a few moments away. And there is Timo really getting congratulated by his team.
And he's with a new team for this year. He stays as a BMW driver, but it's a different team operating the car for him this year, so it means a lot to all concerned. And let's hear from Matthias Ekström. What a drive for second place, Verena.
Real racer, isn't he? As we see Hans-Jürgen App there, also pretty happy.
It's also interesting to see the way that these days Eki has to adapt from 3, 4, 5 lap sprints on 2 surfaces in a rallycross supercar, and then to effectively a longer distance race, you know, 40 minutes or an hour for DTM just a week after. So Timo Glock it is, who steps forward onto the podium, winner of race 2 at the Red Bull Ring.
So to the top step he goes. And Matthias and Jamie also on the podium. Welcome relief to both Matthias and Jamie to be up there. And of course, very good news for Audi. What a weekend for BMW once again. National anthem then for Timo.
For Timo Glock, then, the national anthem is played, and the RMG BMW driver on the top step of the podium is about to receive the winner's trophy after an excellent drive. Battled his way to the front, didn't put a wheel wrong, and steps forward to dedicate that to the RMG team. And the trophies are presented to the winning team. The RMG squad celebrating a great victory with Timo Glock. Slightly less enthused faces down at Audi, but imagine the reception from Mercedes. Carl Wendlinger, former Mercedes DTM driver, Formula 1 driver for Sauber, hands over the trophy to Matthias Ekström. And then Jamie Green, third place, Manfred Sandbichler from Hankook. But we talk about Timo Glock as a winner for RMG. What a weekend, because two victories. Marco Wittmann, an RMG driver as well, having won yesterday's race. So different drivers, but the same team mops up for BMW in the DTM here in Austria. So now the drivers should get together for photographs. But Matthias Ekström's a bit keen with the bubbly, I think. So they all get together. And as soon as the cameras are happy, then there'll be the battle with the Henkel Trocken. Matthias Ekström very, very happy with his second place. Jamie Green relieved, I think, to score, but probably a bit frustrated that the pace of the car ebbed away.
Yes, it did ebb away, didn't it?
Timo Glock celebrates, and Matthias Ekström soaks anybody he can find. Timo or the team, it doesn't matter.
So the celebrations there, Timo's really getting it, isn't he, to be fair?
Yeah. Winning has its downside at times, clearly. Point taken.
Jamie and Matthias have got it really sorted out there. Well, you were absolutely right in the Drivers' Championship. Paul di Resta does stay at the top. 43 points, Eduardo Mortara on 40, and Timo Glock now 37 with Maxime Martin. And Marco Wittmann, Blomqvist, Farfus, Wickens, Muller, Ekström, Green, and Paffett. So Matthias Ekström, P10, Jamie Green, P11 in the Drivers' Championship. So,
but they still have work to do.
They do still have work to do.
Paul di Resta. So Jamie Green, third place, first point-scoring finish of the season. He started on pole, he ends up third, but it's points in the bank, and that will be a very welcome result.
So super slow-mos of the top three. Jamie Green, P3. A remarkable strategy and a remarkable drive from Matthias Ekström in his Red Bull Audi RS5 DTM to take P2. Already heard from him, and he was pretty delighted. And super slow-mo of that car. And Jamie Green is with Verena on the podium right now.